Hey guys, it's Sean here to introduce you to a very special bonus episode of ReelBlend, Quentin Tarantino's fourth appearance on the show, which, yes, sounds incredibly bizarre to say, but we're really honored to have not only Quentin, but his best friend, really close friend, and co-writer of Pulp Fiction, Roger Avary, joining the show because they are promoting their new podcast, The Video Archives, which is, by the time you're listening to this, should have at least its first episode out, and is something that we definitely want to send you guys over to take a listen to. The Video Archives was the show that Roger and Quentin worked at back when they were slinging VHS tapes and recommending things to people over the counter. And it's Quentin has said multiple times that working in that video shop is part of what pushed him to become a director. So it's those two guys going over old films that sort of tickle their fancy and finding actors and going down rabbit holes of people that they want to discuss. And so Quentin wanted to do some press in order to let people know that this new podcast was coming. And, you know, strangely, this is still really weird to wrap my brain around, but one of the things that he wanted to do was to come back on ReelBlend and talk to us about not just the podcast that he's getting into, but just film in general. And that was one of the things that Quentin said to us at the end of our second time with him, the New York conversation, which went for about 2.5 hours. He goes, you know, at the end of when next time we get together and do this, we don't have to talk about my movies all the time. Like, we can just get together and talk about film. So going into this conversation, I think you're going to see, like, we do ask a bunch of questions about Tarantino and his work and some of the things that he has upcoming, both from the book standpoint and the podcast, obviously. And we get into some stuff about his 10th movie. But some of the things we bring up is just topics that are entertaining to the film world and the entertainment industry. And you could tell how much he really enjoys sort of, you know, going off the topic of himself and expanding on a lot of things that he finds really, really interesting. And so for this reason, I think you're going to find out that this one has a different vibe than some of our previous Tarantino episodes, but it's a lot more loose and it's a lot more fun. And strangely, although we don't have a video to back this up, it was recorded at his house. But at the top of it, we're going to describe where we are and the room that we're in and part of the reason why we're there. So listen, I'm yammering enough. We have Quentin Tarantino and Roger Avary on the show. It's Quentin's fourth time coming back to the show. We're always thrilled to have him on ReelBlend. And so without further ado, Roger Avary and Quentin Tarantino on the ReelBlend podcast.
All right, I'll go ahead and launch this because this is an audio podcast, but I want to give a setting as to where we are right now.
Please do.
Yeah, I want you to explain where we are because we're in Mr. Tarantino's house, which
but I want you to explain it. Okay,
Yeah.
So you're here.
Through
we're not
virgin
in the house.
eyes.
Okay, you effed it up already. Okay, we're not in the house. Okay, we're not in the house. All right, the calls are not coming from inside the house. Carol Caan. All right, you know, we're in my theater. Okay, I have a screening room that's apart from the house, and it's done like a little theater, and we are inside of that theater as we speak.
And I remember interviewing Kurt Russell, I think it was for Hateful Eight, and he was telling a story about coming over to your house and watching films, and I was like, I'm never going to ever see that theater, and now we're sitting in here, and I got to tell people.
Describe it.
I've walked around. I hope you don't mind. I walked in the projection room.
Oh, all good.
Because I
It was
wanted
a religious experience.
Yeah, there you go.
Do you have 35 and 70, or is it? What do you?
This is just set up for 16 and 35. No, I'm not set up for 7.
Do you have a 9.5 millimeter projector in there for a Paliard film?
No, I could. But I don't.
But I do want to explain, like, this is incredible.
That would be 70 applicable.
Yeah,
but I don't.
That's the format that has the sprockets in the center between the frames.
And we're sitting here, obviously, with Roger Avary and Quentin Tarantino. And obviously, we're going to dive into why we're here with y'all for your incredible new podcast. But, I mean, I did want to set the scene up as we walked in here, and we want to say thank you for inviting us to your home because this is like a true, we wanted to ask you kind of like, what was it about bringing us here? Why did you want to do the interview here? This is such a cool thing for us as fans, but to be in this theater and talking to you about the podcast, but being here, what was it about us coming here?
Well, frankly, you guys have always been so cool. You always made it a point to like come to Los Angeles to sit down. We always had this really fun time doing it, and I always really appreciated that. And if it's on a press junket, it was easy enough to just like put you guys in a room off to the side. But that's not really the case here and whatever. So, yeah, we could rent a place, or we could find some quiet like restaurant and set up in a corner booth and everything. But coming down to the house is definitely the way to go. And you guys have earned it in your sweetness towards me over the years.
And this room's made for audio. Basically, we've got a big curtain. Yeah. It's perfect for recording.
It's a wonderful venue to talk about cinema.
What was the first movie you showed in here?
That's a very good question.
Oh, I don't know about it. That's a good question. Okay, that's actually too good a question. I
can tell you the first movie I saw in here, which I think was The Hindenburg with George C. Scott.
The last thing that
was that the first? That was the first one.
Oh, that's the first one.
The first one I saw here.
Exactly.
What's the last thing you guys watched here?
What was the last thing we watched here? It was something recent.
I see Starsky and Hutch season 1.
Yeah, okay, no, we didn't watch that.
Was it the Cliff Potts? Did we watch no, that couldn't have been.
No, it wasn't that. No, we watched that on the did we watch it here?
I feel like did we watch an episode of his show or something?
No. Oh, we watched in the one of the things about our show is we'll watch a movie and we'll get kind of hung up on one of the actors in it, all right, and so that becomes a thing on the show, and we'll carry it through with other episodes with other things on that person. But also, we just for fun of it now, we'll watch more movies directed by or starring one of these actors that we liked. So one of them is the movie Cry for Me, Billy, and we like the actor Cliff Potts. Okay, so I know exactly what you're talking about. We watched the episode of Michael Madsen's TV show, Vengeance Unlimited, where Cliff Potts was the guest bad guy.
Yeah, that's right.
Sounds like a thing right out of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yes,
that's exactly what this is.
I have the video cassettes of all of Michael Madsen, because he sent them to me, all right? So I have all the ABC, master copy video cassettes of Vengeance Unlimited. Like, Cliff Potts did an episode.
Did Cliff Potts have to keep showing up as someone who gets beat up by the hero?
Yeah, well, no, he had his early time, all right, because I was able to track down finally. We're going to watch it with Roger coming up. Is Cliff Potts, star of Cry for Me, Billy, one of our episodes.
Fantastic movie.
Actually, starred in a TV movie sequel to Nevada Smith.
I did not know that.
Yeah, they did a TV movie sequel, like directed by Gordon Douglas, of all people. Really good director, a really great Western director, and his only TV movie, written by John Michael Hayes, the guy who wrote both Carpetbaggers and Nevada Smith, the same screenwriter. Okay. And they do a sequel to it where Lauren Green is playing the Brian Keith character, Jonas Cord, and Cliff Potts plays the Steve McQueen character.
Oh wow!
And it's when it's like they bump into each other about like 4 years later.
Wow.
And it's awesome. How the relationship develops. And so I haven't watched the thing from beginning to end since I was a little kid, all right, when I watched it. And then I don't even think I watched it completely. I think I turned it off for a little while and then turned it back on. All right. But one of the things that I remember about it that was so cool, because it is a sequel to Nevada Smith. Right. So if you've seen Nevada Smith, like the most memorable action in it is the Martin Landau, Steve McQueen knife fight that he has right at the beginning. And that's a really good sequence. And so so they have a thing that's really kind of cool. So it's like the characters haven't seen each other in a long time, and then Nevada Smith sees Jonas Cord, and they talk for a little bit. And Jonas goes, okay, yeah, so, I taught you, we spent that year teaching you how to draw your gun and everything. You're going to kill those 3 guys that killed your ma. So what happened? How did that all turn out? All right, did you track those guys down? Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did. Oh, you did, huh? How did it go? Well, I killed them all. I didn't kill the last guy, but that was his own thing. I'll tell you about that later. All right. I took care of them all.
Wow.
And then he goes, yeah, I remember you had me train with a gun until I couldn't hold a gun any longer. And then what happens? First guy comes at me with a knife.
Quentin, at the end of our second interview we did with you, we talked for 2.5 hours. It was one of the greatest conversations of our entire lives. We still talk about that. 500,000 views on YouTube. It's nuts. You said something real that stuck with all of us, which is, next time we don't have to talk all about my movies the entire time. Like, we can talk about other stuff. I'm sort of curious as to, if that's where the podcast came from. Because I'd imagine when people meet you, all they want to do is talk about your films. And so how it's getting people to talk with you about things other than your projects is probably kind of difficult.
Well, the thing about it is, look, if I'm doing an interview on a thing, usually promoting a movie coming up, then I think I know what time it is. Yeah, exactly. But, look, frankly, the situation is me and Roger just have had a fun time getting together and watching movies, and we had a fun time doing that like most of our lives. So we're getting together, watching flicks. And, he's excited that it's the Video Archives collection. Like, he spent years of his life with that.
Like, handling these cassettes every single day.
And you have that in your house now, right?
I do, yeah.
Is it the same layout?
It's close. It's very close.
It's the same shelves.
Look, it wasn't, it's the same shelves. Look, I wasn't trying to create this hermetically sealed version of the store that I used to work at.
Nevertheless, you did that.
But I kind of ended up doing that nevertheless.
Same shelves. That's crazy.
Well,
it's really like
the tapes fit the shelves.
I'm surprised they're still here.
Yeah. Well,
and they're all
I had
wrapped
the foresight to when I bought the collection to buy some of the shelves.
It's really bizarre going through these things, and I've handled them a million times, but it's also shocking that as we're picking movies and watching them, there's a number of them I haven't seen before. These are movies that I've,
and same
Lipstick was a good example of a film that went through my hands dozens of times.
Yeah, look, same with me.
I never had a chance to see it.
And so the thing about it is, so basically, this is just an excuse for me and Roger to get together and watch movies, and we found somebody who will pay us for it. All right, that's what we do. However, though, but we're not coming from the idea of being these rah cheerleaders, where it's like. Oh, these movies mean so much to me. These are our favorite movies. Sure. And these are the movies that made us the filmmakers that we are today. And let's talk about, we make it a point to stay away from our favorite movies. Every once in a while, one of them slips in. Yeah. All right, but it's not our point to just go out here and just be cheerleaders. That's boring. Like all my favorite movies I've talked about so much, I'm just sick of them.
But dissect them and critically.
Yeah. I want to watch movies that we can really analyze, and maybe we like this and maybe we don't like that. But we're not here to recommend movies to you. If movies will be recommended to you, but that's not our job. Right. And we're not here to just like everything. We're here to analyze it and see where it falls. And we don't have to agree. And Gala doesn't have to agree. And it's all, it's just the fun of watching it. I try to. This is not the case in every episode, but I try to have at least one movie every episode I have not seen.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I want to ask about. Is that when we started putting this show together, we had no clue what we were doing at all, and we didn't even think about the fact that it needed like a format to keep people engaged, kind of thing. Have you guys thought at all about like the type of format? Has it changed at all as you guys have been doing it a little bit?
I think the first episode is the one where we're kind of still figuring it out.
Sure.
All right, but then after that, and every once in a while that breaks. It breaks, but we know what we're jumping off from. After that, fairly shortly, we got into the whole idea of we have two movies that are two bigger movies. If you've heard of one of them, you probably would have heard of one of these two. They don't all have to be studio films, but they're studio-ish. Yeah. But they're and they could be obscure, but they're still studio-ish. All right. And then the third one is a really obscure exploitation movie or a really obscure foreign film.
Okay, gotcha.
Kind of like three movies you'd bring home for the weekend.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, gotcha. That's cool.
That's cool. I'm gonna switch gears here because I want to bring this up because
actually before you do,
yes.
I feel like somebody never really described the theater.
Yeah.
You walk in and there's like an ocean of crushed red velvet everywhere in all the seats. And the walls are in like blue navy, and there are these like 8 kind of Pirate of the Caribbean kind of lanterns dimly illuminating a room with oriental rugs that are actually turned into carpet.
It's also an Avengers blanket in here. I want to mention that.
No, don't bring up the thing that is like just happens to be here because Uma's kids were here 9 years ago.
Speaking, there's a beautiful statue of Uma behind you.
Yeah, these crazy kind of all like by the same artist. These kind of semi-grotesque cartoon-like versions from your movies, various characters. You're sitting on a bunch of crushed red velvet couches.
Very
there's
comfortable.
Like a big comfortable area in front of this gigantic, again, crushed red velvet screen. There's
my wonderful wall of directors talking to their actors.
Yeah.
All right.
I was wondering.
And this was where I saw the cover of your book for the first time.
Yes,
Is that still hanging here?
Yeah, it's right there.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, that's so it has Paul Mazursky talking to Natalie Wood during Bob and Carol, Ted and Alice directing her. All right, it has Sam Peckinpah directing Steve McQueen on The Getaway. It has William Whitney directing The Lone Ranger in the very first Lone Ranger serial. Wow. And it has Peter Bogdanovich lowered on his haunches so he can be eye to eye with little Tatum O'Neal on Paper Moon.
And you guys are also drinking really gourmet coffee. It smells like
gourmet shit.
Yeah.
Quentin actually drinks really gourmet. It smells incredible.
And a Gallagher machine. Also.
De rigueur.
Which the reason that's there is because my favorite grindhouse, the Carson Twin Cinema, had one in its lobby.
And then but when you're Quentin Tarantino, you can go, I'll buy that and take it with me.
Exactly. So, but to me, there's a cinema connection to it, nevertheless.
Always.
So I'm going to switch gears because the first time I ever spoke with you was 2007. You were promoting Grindhouse, and you came on a radio show that I was working on at the time. And at that moment, you were writing Inglourious Bastards. And I brought up in the interview that I said True Romance, obviously Tony Scott directed it, but the Walken Hopper scene is my favorite monologue you had ever written. And I was a young interviewer at the time. I probably shouldn't have worded it this way. I was like, do you think you'll ever write a better monologue than that in your career? Because I loved everything, obviously, Pulp Fiction, everything since then. But you said to me in that moment, I'm writing a World War II piece right now, and I think I finally topped it. And it ended up being the opening of Bastards. And then
Did you agree that I topped it?
I think they're both on the same level.
Okay.
I still prefer, I don't know. I mean, the Bastards one is a 10 out of 10, but there's something about the way Hopper delivers that monologue to Walken. But I know Tony,
they're in the same category.
100%.
They're in the same. They're in the same. They breathe the same rarefied air.
Most people are on your side with and so when I interviewed you years later for a Django, I asked you again. You said I still feel that's my best monologue is the opening of Bastards. So now we're sitting here, 2022. Where do you feel you are on that now? Do you still think Bastards is your best monologue? And where are you at?
It kills me actually because I don't think it's better than the opening of Bastards, but I think it exists in the same sphere.
Okay.
You guys read the paperback Once Upon a Time?
The whole thing.
Every page?
Every page.
The French pimp monologue.
There you go. Now you're talking.
Okay, it's like when I wrote that, and it just came bursting out of me, and I got through writing it, and I was like, what the fuck was that? Where the fuck did that come from? Holy shit, for this novelization, I'm just, like the best monologue I've written in 4 years, and I'm just throwing it away, all right?
You could give that to someone. Who would you give it to?
Yeah, well, I would give it to Sam Jackson. That's one of the chapters that I read, all right, when I do readings, that I always say, okay, look, I know it's written to be a French pimp. Like, he's supposed to sound like Sam Jackson, so I'm going to do it in the Sam Jackson one.
Yes.
I think you read it. Did you read it?
Yeah, I did read it
at
our thing when we did our thing, yeah.
But
we want to timestamp this and just say congratulations on Fatherhood, the sequel.
Oh, thank you. Yes, exactly.
That's so huge. I always thought it was interesting. You hear Spielberg talk about once he had children, he looks back at the end of Close Encounters and goes, I can't fathom how I let Richard Dreyfuss go off with the aliens. As a father, I would never allow that scene to happen in my movie these days. Or is there any scene that you have in your movies that now that you're a father, you go,
Parenthood fucked him up.
There's no.
It's like Parenthood fucked him up.
I love that. I love it.
Because I always wondered why they cut to death that scene.
Yeah,
in Close Encounters.
That's why. I disagree. I mean, if that was the case, then that means Roy Neary wasn't as obsessed as I thought he was.
Sure. Right. Just the point
if
of
he could
movie.
have, if he could have a calming moment, well, I can't leave my kids.
Right.
Well, okay. Well, why did you chase them away, building the Devil's Tower in your fucking living room if you're worried so much about your fucking kids?
And also, that's the whole point of the movie is that you're being given this message that is bigger than you, that's bigger than the world, it's bigger than everything.
Right.
Yeah. And it's calling your soul to travel to it.
By the way, nice
it's
try with that. You've
everything.
just proven you're a lunatic. All right? To the local police, to your neighbors,
to the trash
your
man,
wife, to her lawyers, to every judge she ever puts you in front of.
do you have a favorite Spielberg movie?
Case closed.
Well, I think
it's Hook, isn't it?
No, it's not Hook.
I actually like Hook. I'm sorry.
I think Jaws is the greatest movie ever made. Maybe not the greatest film, but it's the greatest movie ever made. Right. And then there's other movies that can get in its rarefied air. But as far as a movie is concerned, there's no making it better than Jaws. There's no better than Jaws. It is the best movie ever made. And it shows how badly timed most movies made before Jaws were.
Wow. In what way?
But what's your favorite?
Well, what I mean by that? Well, I said all
now
that.
that you've intellectualized.
No, Roger, I appreciate you're bringing things back for me.
Because for me, it's 1941.
I prefaced it by not saying it's my favorite Spielberg movie. I just said it's the best movie ever made. Okay. But what I meant by that, to one degree or another, is like Spielberg and a lot of his cohorts grew up seeing those kind of movies and the theater. It's like Journey to the Center, Henry Levin's Journey to the Center of the Earth. He's going to run to go and see. And Richard Fleischer's Fantastic Voyage, he's going to run and go see. And Gordon Douglas's Them, he's going to run and go see. Now, not all of those, especially in the case of the Gordon Douglas's Them, but most of them weren't directed that well. They were assignments given to journeyman directors who did their best with them. Right. All right. And that was how we were used to seeing comic book, that kind of movie experience, as opposed to a Spielberg who no, this is exactly the kind of movie he likes. This is exactly the kind of movies he was put on earth to make, and he's going to make it within an inch of his life as effective as it possibly can be. And, Michael Anderson isn't putting that kind of work in Logan's Run.
Right. Yeah. Gotcha.
If you don't mind, Roger, I'd love to hear your thoughts on 1941 and why that.
And your favorite Spielberg.
Well, it's long been, as you know, it's long been my favorite. And part of it is just because it is Spielberg. Look, I think he's a master craftsman. He makes a bad movie and it's still kind of perfectly made. I think I've done a lot of bad things in my life. I never made The Terminal.
I like The Terminal.
And I don't because I think it's it's based on a true story and it's such a brilliant true story and it just turns into, I just think it's demeaning to its story, to its subject. 1941 is Spielberg loose. He's just doing it. He doesn't even know what he's doing. It's all over the map, and it's still master craftsmanship.
Wasn't it right after Close Encounters?
Yeah, it's right after Close Encounters. And I think the failure of that movie means we never really see that kind of freedom from him again. I mean, that's how I feel about it. And I just I love the Zemeckis scale script. I think it's just so much fun of a movie to watch. I can drop in at any moment and just immediately carry along with the movie. I never had any of the, when the movie came out, there was so much
vitriol against it.
Vitriol about the budget. Who cares about how much it costs? It didn't change the ticket price.
Right.
Yeah. My favorite is probably the one where he did give himself license to do what you're talking about. But at the end of the day, I think my favorite Spielberg directed movie, again with Jaws carved out on its own Mount Rushmore. All right, is Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom.
Yes. Thank you.
All right. I'm not going to call Jake out.
You just called me out. I'm not going to call Jake out.
Jake, I'm with you actually on this one.
Temple of Doom.
Or at least I used to be.
Anything goes opening drives me
absolutely
nuts.
has the best opening.
It's the best opening of all three.
Over the boulder?
Yes, it is
wrong.
the best.
Yeah, well, look, the boulder's only one moment. The boulder's only one moment.
Are you talking about the musical sequence?
Yeah.
1941. I'm sorry, you don't need it. You have 1941.
All right, puts it into a different.
Why do you need Temple of Doom when you have that musical sequence when you have 1941, which is better and more perfect in every way?
Thank you, Roger.
And also, why do you need Temple of Doom if you have Raiders of the Lost Ark, which is also perfect?
One, because we wanted to see Indiana Jones get into another adventure, and
but a lesser one.
And like he was full of piss and gauge, all right, on the case of back-to-back Jaws and Close Encounters. Now he figures he can do no wrong, and so he pushes the envelope.
He pushes.
Creates PG-13
Because he
the
feels-
movie's so fucking badass. It created a new level in the MPAA, something Brian De Palma's never been able to do as much as he's tried.
It's just more is more. It just felt like more is more. Let's just do more is more.
We give Sean shit for you telling him he was wrong about Kill Bill being 2 films. And now I'm going to hear about this for the rest of my life. It's going to be on my tombstone. Sean is going to etch, you were wrong about Temple of Doom and Tarantino said so.
And then in parentheses, but Roger agrees.
Just read Pauline Kael's review for it, where she
Small.
breaks down one classic sequence
condone.
after another, and almost all the sequences build towards a comedy aspect. There is a comedy aspect. As gruesome as the cinema is, there is a ultimate comedy aspect that's just not quite there as much in the first one.
Raiders,
No, I agree.
You're still wrong about Kill Bill.
And Temple of Doom, I'm
that
going to say this again, it has the best opening of all of them.
Okay.
It just does. It does.
But I mean, I almost
When you say all of them, you mean the Indiana
The
Jones
three.
movie.
I don't care about, I don't really count Crystal Skull.
I don't dislike Crystal Skull.
I like Crystal Skull more than the Sean Connery.
Yeah,
one.
I do too.
I don't like the Sean Connery. I don't like the Sean Connery one at all.
Now we're not on the same page.
Okay.
Crusade's my favorite one.
Interesting.
That's
Really?
such a boring
I
one.
love
It is the Last
It's
Crusade.
boring.
Yeah, it
It's
really is.
boring. And he's not an interesting character. The joke is made immediately. It's like, stop if my mom will shoot.
I get it. You know, this is, it's like video archives right now. We're dissecting
exactly,
and being
yeah.
critical. Yes, yes.
Before we move on off the Kill Bill thing, because this is forever gonna plague me.
You want to
I
steer
have to
back
bring
to
up
this.
something
It's
that
one movie.
happened just recently.
Stop.
Now, Quentin knows that we've had this argument many times that I like to say that they're 2 movies. Of course,
It's not 2 movies.
of course, it's his movie. But recently, the New Beverly showed Kill Bill Volume 2
Yeah.
alone.
Mhm.
Wouldn't that essentially be like taking a movie that you love and starting it at the 2-hour
We
mark?
shot it as one.
Well,
That's
no,
not-
big.
I'm
Well,
letting
okay,
him
okay,
answer.
well, okay. Well, the thing about it is, I consider it one movie
Yes.
because I shot it all as one movie and I wrote it all as one movie.
Of course.
But the reality is, we did release it separately, theatrically, and it had to work on its own, and they had to work on their own.
Right. Yes.
You know, where it's like, if you saw one, then you still felt you had you still got enough of an experience of a movie not to feel ripped off.
Yeah.
Just because you didn't find out how the whole conclusion. You got a movie's worth of entertainment.
Absolutely.
All right, and the same thing with volume 2. And actually, frankly, I think there's an interesting idea that someone could actually watch Volume 2 and not see Volume 1.
Sure.
And they would have their own different experience, but like a legit experience.
Yeah.
Because that opening scene.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So the thing is, you know, so while they do still exist as 2 separate movies as an entity, then I can program them.
Fair enough.
Show them.
All right, I want to get around to this though, because last time we met at the New Beverly and had this conversation, you were promoting a book, and now you have another book coming out at the end of the end of the year,
Right.
Which all of a sudden feels like a floodgate has opened in terms of you as an author. Has you been bitten by the writer's bug? How much do you enjoy
Have
sitting
you been
down?
bitten by the writer's bug?
A book perspective. Yeah.
The headline of this podcast: Tarantino bitten by bugs.
Curious.
You know what I mean, Roger? For God's sake,
No, I know, I'm just-
throwing me under the bus.
I'm sorry. Couldn't help it.
Because you like Temple of
Tarantino
Doom.
says, just now, been written by Writer Bug. This news in.
You know what? I pursue this writing thing.
The media.
We got our headline. Thank you. I mean, in novel form.
Yes, I know what you meant. But these wise guys.
I know, I'm sorry.
They're gonna
My
kill
bad.
me. Yes, I deserve that.
So this is how we would be in archives. We would be snarky to each other.
Yeah.
Good.
So
I expect nothing less.
Yeah. Well, in this instance, I knew exactly that these were the 2 books I wanted to start.
Okay.
You know, my book writing career was a fictional book. You know, and then naturally I wanted to be a novelization for all the reasons I explained before.
Sure.
And then my film analysis book, which conceivably I've been writing for the last 10 years. I'm just finally now publishing it. All right. And now I know it's actually going to get published. I rewrote it to make it better. You know, but a lot of the stuff in it already I had, written over the years or whatever. But now under a whole guise that once it found its own integrity. It found its own spine. It found its own story that I was trying to tell rather than just
in
random
a big
pieces.
way. I mean, I
Yeah.
think it's almost as much a biography in some ways,
It
or a
becomes
peek into
very
the brain.
yeah.
You know, it's like a.
Yeah, it's like, well, that's the stuff everyone likes the most about it. I think it's the cheapest shit in it. All right, is the autobiographical. It's like, oh, they love hearing about little Quentin. You know,
You're bored of little Quentin. Enough of little Quentin.
yeah. Well, it's just cheap. Okay, I know. Well, then I did this, and then my mom did that. Yeah. All right, but nevertheless, but it's fair game because as they asked Pauline Kael, would you ever write your autobiography? And she goes, no, of course I wouldn't, because I've been writing my autobiography in every review I ever wrote.
Sure.
And the thing is, you do get to know her when you read the reviews. There's this critic that you guys don't know, but I'm getting out there a little bit, is this critic from the 70s named Jim Sheldon. He used to write for this porno rag, and I really liked his stuff. And I know who this fucking dude is, all right, because his reviews. He let himself be known in his reviews. Yeah. And so same thing, I think, in my pieces.
Well, I was just going to jump in. Sorry for jumping in, Kevin. But right now, the trend with directors is telling their childhood stories. Spielberg is making The Fabelmans, and Kenneth Branagh gave us Belfast, and Alfonso Cuarón gave us Roma. I was going to ask if that's what Hollywood was for you, or if you were at all interested in story of little Quentin, but I guess we're getting that in book form.
Yeah, I think you're. Yeah, no, I'm not interested in doing my last movie, The Story of Quentin. All right, that would
cut like Quentin Tarantino.
Boy, that would really.
I kind of would like to see that actually.
By the bug. The story of Quentin Tarantino.
As egomaniacal as I give my own self credit for, all right, that might be a bridge too far.
Well,
for even I.
Listen, John Borman.
The final Quentin Tarantino movie.
My
the
story.
Quentin Tarantino story, starring Jared Leto.
Star of Morbius.
But you know what, Quentin? John Borman's Hope and Glory is an amazing movie. I think it's maybe one of his best films.
I'm not saying that's not the case. I think Filoni is probably Fellini's first film, but I don't think that's going to be my last movie. Yeah. It's the Quentin Tarantino story, starring George Hamilton.
When we spoke when we spoke in New York during one of the breaks, we came back from a break or whatever, and you were talking about Top Gun 2 came up in conversation, and you were telling us like about Joseph Kosinski and kind of like what put that movie being released. Now that we're on the other side of it, I'm curious if you saw it. What did you think of it? What did you think of the success of it? I mean, I'm just wondering where you're at on that.
Well, okay. Normally, I don't talk about new movies that much because then I'm only forced to say good things. All right, or else I'm slamming some dude. You know, I don't want to do that. All right, but in this case, I fucking love Top Gun. The Maverick movie. I thought it was fantastic. I saw it at the theaters. It was, as our mutual friend Brett Easton Ellis says, it's like that and Spielberg's West Side Story both provided a true cinematic spectacle, the true cinema spectacle, the kind that I'd almost thought that I wasn't going to see anymore, that wasn't going to exist.
The reason movies were invented.
And it was like, it was fantastic, but also there was just this lovely, lovely aspect of, because I love both Tony Scott's cinema so much, and I love Tony so much that's as close as we're ever going to get to seeing one more Tony Scott movie.
Kosinski did a great job.
He did a great job, and the respect and the love of Tony was kind of in every frame. It was almost in every decision. It was consciously right there, but in this really cool way that was really respectful. And I think it was in every decision Tom made on the film. Right. And I mean, it was like it's the closest we're ever going to get to seeing one more Tony Scott movie, and it was a fucking terrific one.
Didn't you express your concern to Tom about that? Weren't you like, how are you going to do that with Tony?
Well, I wasn't so much concerned. I figured if he's going to do it, he's going to, he has a good handle on it. But I did ask him, I said, like, but how do you do Top Gun without Tony Scott? And he goes, look, I know. He goes, I know. Yeah. You're right. You're right. It's why I've said no. It's why I've said no all these years. All these years I've said no for that exact reason. We figured out a way. Wow. We figured out a way. The guy came up with a good story. We figured out a way.
What did you think of the Kilmer scene?
It's fucking. It's almost too cheap. All right, but it works. Yeah. It absolutely works. Yeah. It absolutely works. Okay.
It shouldn't work.
Yeah. I mean, it's a bit like you could be cynical because it is a bit like Chaplin dying on stage for the last scene of Limelight, all right? Pauline Kael would call Slimelight. But it fucking works. You're waiting for it, and then the fucking scene delivers. Yeah.
And even just from a box office perspective, I mean, the numbers have been great, and it almost feels like that the industry is turning the corner, is coming back. Is that how you guys are seeing it?
Well, we'll see. I think it's a we'll see.
Yeah.
I think it's a we'll see. I think we won't know for 2 years from now.
Okay.
Like how theatrical cinema is gonna all kind of come out once it gets through all the different washing machines.
I think the answer to that is that you just have to make movies for audiences.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that.
Okay, but nevertheless, though. Okay, but nevertheless, if everything still works and it's all raw, but the film only plays for 40 days in a movie theater, then we've already lost.
Right.
As far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. Right.
Okay, that's we haven't put the genie back in the bottle yet.
Okay.
We're still playing it fucking safe.
Well, the genie doesn't ever really go back into the bottle because what was unique about movie theaters was film and the ability to have something that you can't really get at home.
Right.
You can get Atmos at home. You can get Dolby Digital at home. You can get, a movie projected at home in 4K, which is what they're projecting in some theaters. And so there's not really anything, special. People say, "Oh, the audience experience and all of that," and that's true. But film is really
okay. Before we go on, look, we don't need to go on the film roll.
Okay.
We've done that a zillion times. All right, but in this instance, my point on this instance is the idea that even now, with it being a success for its theatrical engagement for like a 40-day window or something, that's just treating film as a rarefied experience. And then there's a zillion steps on this. There's a zillion steps on the staircase. All right, all going down of how you can see this movie, and this is just the top step. And if you want to breathe this rarefied air, you get to go during this rarefied window to watch your film on a big screen before it takes all these steps immediately. Right. Immediately. Now, when you went to when it took a film 6 months, which was too soon as far as I was concerned then. Right. But when it took 6 months for it to come out on these other mediums, we were going to the movies. Yeah. We weren't just going to have a rarefied experience with this movie in the 40 days we had.
Right.
I'm with you 100%. I will literally always, nothing at home has ever come close to anything I've ever experienced in a movie theater, ever.
Very true.
Yeah. I mean, obviously you have this theater will give that to you. But
okay, but by the way, though, hold it. I will explain, though. We don't watch our movies together in this theater.
No.
Where do you go?
Oh, we watch in my living room.
VHS.
We watch it. Yeah, we watch
on
it
a couch
with a TV,
like we were.
on a VHS
exactly.
deck. Yeah.
No, they have they're playing VHS.
I know.
No, of course we are.
Awesome.
That's the point of the fucking show.
I know. It's freaking awesome.
That is very cool.
No, we watch the three. We get together. We we get together every Friday. We get together on Friday to watch the movies. And then we do the show when we tape the show on Monday.
Okay.
So we have the weekend to think about what we thought about the movies. But it's not like, oh, hey, you watch this one and I'll watch this one and we'll get together and talk about it on Monday. No, the point is that we get together and we watch all three movies.
Love it.
Together in one big go. And then talk about it. We're not like, okay, don't say anything. I don't want to know what you're going to think. We talk during the movie like you would watching it on a couch.
Of course. Right.
But kind of watching it on the couch is kind of part of it. We're not a rarefied cinema thing, all right? We're talking about the VHS experience.
Quentin, I'm just thinking about, it's not just the 45-day window. It's the ticket price, which is not set by NATO. It's not set by the theater owners. That's set by the studios. And tickets are just too expensive. When you and I were working in a video store, we could go to the movies every day of the week and sometimes see a movie twice, even if we didn't like it. And we would go see 3 movies on a Friday or something like that on a minimum wage budget. And we would still be able to eat.
Yeah, no. If now the number one thing is like, if somebody were asking, how could I be me now? If there was me starting out now. All right. Well, the thing is, there's no way I could afford to go see all the movies that I did in my 20s when I was doing a minimum wage job for that entire decade.
Sure.
There was just no way. All right, I would not be able to have seen the movies that I saw. And I never cared about how much they cost. I always knew I had enough money to go, and sometimes I went to the day shows because they were cheaper. But I mean, except for when it got to be Thursday, all right, and your payday is Friday, all right. Except for when it got to be those last 2 days of the week before you got paid again, the price of a ticket never stopped me.
Right.
From seeing a movie at my brokest.
Right.
At my brokest.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I think
But
I
we
saw
could still
it,
go check out a movie for like $3.50 back then on a matinee, or $4.50, $5 on a main.
Oh, when the Westwood theaters kicked it up to $6,
it was an outrage.
I wanted to be an urban terrorist. Remember,
You were upset.
I was
You
like,
were
I'm going to
fucking
create
upset.
damage in the theater, and I'm going to send letters to the Times, all right, and the Herald Examiner. I'm going to call myself the Phantom, all right, and I'm going to have a name. I was like taking my playbook out of Scorpio, all right, from Dirty Harry, about how dare you raise the price on movie cinemas. I will create that much damage in your theater.
And so now you want to go to the movies, it's more akin to like going to theater or something like that, back in the old days, where suddenly it has to
Choose
be
your
this,
seat now.
it's got to
Yeah.
be this big event, when the fact of the matter is, 80% of the theater income is made 2 days a week. That means like 20% is made the rest of the time.
Sure.
And that's just people walking into a movie theater. And so it needs to be made easier for people to go see movies. Movies would then there wouldn't be this race to home video, and this kind of very limited, 45-day maximum window you get. We might have a more France-like experience where movies last longer in a theater. Even in Canada, they do that, or where they'll just take a chance on a Filipino action film, that plays alongside the Avengers or whatever.
Gotcha.
And which happens in Toronto.
Anything less than 90 is blasphemy. It shouldn't even be more. It should be more than that.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Yeah, should be more than that.
Did you say 9? I think 5.
Yeah.
I think still should be 5. I see no reason why it shouldn't be 5. Theaters are empty most of the time during the week. Empty.
Well, I think I've moved off of 5, even though I was always 5 for most of my life. That it should be that's just the right round number. I think
well,
now
it should be a
10
single
I think
bill.
10,
It should
I
be
think
a
10 has
single bill.
become
So-
our 5.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Especially in the last 6 months.
Yeah.
So we appreciate these opportunities to catch back up, because we like to reflect on a couple of major things that happened. And a big one that is affecting all of us is Bruce Willis announcing his retirement. And I just wanted to get your guys' opinions on the idea that he announced the retirement, what you think his legacy is going to be. It always felt to me that Bruce was kind of misunderstood in the types of the things that he was capable of doing. He almost got pigeonholed into the action hero role, and did some of his greatest work with you two.
Yeah. Well, he's like, I think Bruce is one of our great movie stars, and not only is he a great movie star, he was a terrific actor, and also he was a very adventuresome, movie star. He used his movie star to really interesting effect. He kind of knew the kind of action movies that he could do that would really deliver well, and he did them really well. But then also he was also very quick to work with different respected directors, because he wanted to work with those directors. So he used his movie starness to help those directors get those movies made. Sure. And he attached himself to a ton of different auteurs over the years, and did some really challenging movies with them. And everybody from Robert Zemeckis to Terry Gilliam to working with Alan Rudolph a couple of different times, on challenging things just to do it. But then he would also work with younger directors, that he saw.
Rian Johnson.
Yeah, he saw their earlier film. He liked it, liked the
you,
script,
or
me.
Yeah. Actually, when I remember seeing Bruce on an interview on MTV, and it was before Pulp Fiction, and he was telling them what he was up to. And he was a big movie star at that time.
Yeah. He saw Dog.
And he was like, well, I'm going to work with this young kid, Quentin Tarantino, and he did this little movie, Reservoir Dogs, and he was almost like thinking maybe nobody had heard of it.
Yeah.
And he was taking this chance, and which was
he did like
freaking cool of him.
Yeah, exactly. But and he did that for like a long time. Like he did that movie Hostage because he liked that guy's movie.
Yeah. Good movie, actually.
Yeah. Well, I hate the whole second half of it, but the opening credits that's some of the coolest opening credits, of the last 20 years.
I need to go back
But
and rewatch.
the first part's okay. All right, the end is terrible. But those opening credits are fucking amazing.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, I'm sorry. You were going to say about the chances that he's taking.
So I think that will be part of his legacy. Is he's one of our great movie stars, and he used his movie star well. He used his movie star cachet well to work with a lot of different filmmakers and make some really, really interesting movies. And and by the way, though, I think he's also kind of getting a bad rap for these movies that he's made the last 20 years. Sure. I've made a point to watch a bunch of them.
Yeah, he called me up. You called me up and told me. He's
pretty
like,
fucking good in these movies. Some of them are really, really fun. I actually think it's like the people who are bad mouthing these movies, like, okay, well, you guys have obviously never seen exploitation movies before. Because as exploitation movies, some of these are pretty fucking good. All right. I've yet to see like an Assault on Precinct 13. Right. I've yet to see a Halloween. I've yet to see one that completely transcends the genre. Sure. But like I said, I like crappy Filipino exploitation movies from the 70s. So these are higher quality than those movies, and I like those. But some of them are pretty fun. Right?
Quentin called me up and he said, he started telling me he's watching all these these late Bruce movies, and I started thinking, well, he's probably going to start shit talking them. He's like, no, I'm sick of like hearing people like bagging on them. I started watching them. They're not bad. And so he gives me a list of them to watch, and I start watching them. I'm like, these are actually really good. These are like,
knowing that they're made in 2 weeks and sometimes less than that, sometimes 12 days. Yeah. All right. Knowing that they're made for that, they actually have decent storylines. They actually have decent scripts. They have, Vice has got a really good storyline. That their wannabe Total Recall Westworld. Yeah. Okay, that has a really good story. They don't quite live up to it, but it's there. But it's also really kind of cool. It's strategic to, again, from knowing how like Corman movies were made. It's really interesting because it's like, okay, no, they've got 2 weeks. They've got to do this thing. So all of Bruce Willis's stuff is like done within 2 or 3 days. Sure. He's wearing an earpiece, so he can never really have dialogue back and forth. So there's always going to be a cut after he says every line. Sure. But that doesn't. But that works. I like him in it. I like him in these. He's actually committing. He's actually very much committing to what he's doing.
Yeah. And you need a compassionate director to make that work.
Yeah, there was this one that's like a ripoff of Die Hard that was really kind of fun. Where
at
Bruce
the
Willis
hydroelectric plant.
Yeah, exactly. At the dam. At the dam. And, yes, exactly. That was fun.
It's a reversal.
Yes.
That was fun, and I liked that guy who was the lead. I thought he did a good job.
Yes, he was good.
That guy did a good job.
He's like, I wasn't supposed to be here today.
Yeah. I think that's the Starship Trooper guy. All right, I think he was really good.
Was it Casper Van?
No. The other guy, the other dark-haired guy, who's in a lot of these straight-to-video things.
Yeah, that one's not bad. You're right. That was fun. That one holds
but Vice was. I didn't care for Thomas Jane. He seemed like he was playing Jack Depp from Transfers.
Well, I like Jack Depp in Transfers.
All right. Well, it would have been better if it was Jack Depp. But Bruce was terrific in that one, and but there's this one with Michael Chiklis. All right, these robbers have to. The guy got knocked out, and he's lost 9 minutes, and he has to put together the 9 minutes that he lost. It is okay. Well, that's a pretty dynamic plot compared to like a Roger Corman New World Horizon movie. Sure. Right. These are for what they are. They're actually pretty classy productions.
Yeah. They're programmers.
And then all of a sudden, like Robert De Niro shows up for a fucking scene, and you go, "What the fuck? What is he doing here?" And then Hopkins shows up for one fucking scene, all right? Or John Malkovich for one fucking scene, right? And then Steve Guttenberg is the doctor. Like, what the fuck's going on here? And he doesn't even get special credit. He's like low down the bottom of the totem pole. Okay, Lisa and Steve Guttenberg as the doctor.
You got to get that and credit.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. Speaking of Bruce Willis, there's a scene that I've always wanted to talk to you about. It's the cab scene in Pulp Fiction. And I always wondered the choice to shoot it the way you did, with the background, the way it was shot, and just what you remember about Bruce in that scene, how what do you remember about like directing him in that moment, and just the choice of the way you shot it. It was I always loved that moment in that dialogue.
Well, it was just I like the idea. Look, especially then, I really, really liked the idea of using unrealistic cinematic tropes. Yeah. All right. And so the idea is, if you're going, like the way Jim McBride in his remake of Breathless used it. So if you're going to have a process shot, then make it super fucking obvious it's a film process. Okay, it's not about trying to blend it in and fool the audience. No, I'm using a film process shot. This is a film process shot.
You're
this
the same
is
with
what you're
split
saying.
screens. Like you like to see the
I want to see the seam.
the split.
All right, I
you
want to see the border.
seam between them. So you love seeing the artifice.
And then and so to make it even more that way, it's like they go, okay, well, if you're going to use this stuff and the way we're using it, it's going to come across as blue and white. All right, and I go, well, if it's going to come across as blue and white, then let's just use black and white footage. So I'm just I'm making it even more obvious. Not only is it a process shot, it's black and white film. All right, but that makes it look more like a little wannabe film noir-y.
Yeah, sure.
Kind of sequence. No, he loved doing that scene. Look, there was a lot longer. That was one of those scenes that. There was a lot longer version of it. All right, in the script, and then the way we cut it together, it was a lot longer version. However, but there is a reality about that scene. That is one of those. There's a couple scenes like that in Pulp Fiction where it's like the movie's been hurtling so much as far as like into perspectives you might not imagine. So there's a couple scenes in the movie that allows the audience to just kind of take a break.
Yeah. Sure.
Get their breath, kind of get their bearings where they are now, and now for the next 20 minutes they're gonna kind of now know where they are, and now I'm gonna jerk them around later, but now they know where they are, and they've settled down into this new version of a movie coming on.
We breathe a little.
Yeah,
bit,
exactly, and like that's really, and it's not really until the Bruce Willis story that I'm introducing the idea that no, you're gonna watch separate stories. You maybe didn't know that.
Yeah, right.
Beforehand.
Right.
But now you're getting it.
Yeah.
You're getting it now. So, a lot of people can say, well, that's where the movie kind of stops. Well, it's meant to kind of stop there for you to get your breath, and now you're into the rest of it. But the thing about it is there was more to it in the original script.
Sure.
And that was Sally's favorite edited scene. And it was the original long version of it.
Okay.
She goes, of all the scenes we cut together, that was my favorite as far as the work I did.
Wow.
Was the longer version. But it's just too fucking long.
Yeah.
It's just too long right in the middle of the movie. It's just too fucking long. So she goes, look, Quentin, just take a walk around the block. I've got an idea for a smaller version of it. Let me just work on it for a little bit.
Sally is a genius.
Go get a cup of coffee, come back, and then just see my version. And I'm like, okay, that's it. That's fine.
And Fred's done a really good job taking over.
Oh,
too.
he's done a magnificent job.
Sally was a legend. Yeah.
While we're on Pulp Fiction, I'll never forget the moment in my 58th rewatch of the film where I turned into the DiCaprio meme, like pointing at the camera. And it's the first moment where I realized that within the first 60 seconds of Pulp Fiction, and you're captivated by Pumpkin and Honey Bunny, you can see John Travolta walk to the bathroom.
Yeah.
And it took me for years. I was probably in my 30s before I ever actually. I'm ashamed to say that. I'm sorry, I go, holy shit! And you realize that's when he's going to the bathroom.
Yeah. Bobby and Dressed to Kill.
Can you talk to me about that moment where like you have one of the biggest stars on planet out of focus, just walking by, and like how long you realize it took people to start realizing that you can see John Travolta walk by in that opening scene?
Well, it's just one of those things where like I'm just egotistical enough to think that somebody's going to watch my movie twice. So I figure if you're going to, if I'm coming from such an egotistical place, that you're going to watch it maybe a few times.
Yeah.
All right. Maybe every 5 years you'll watch it.
So it's okay that it took me 15, 20 years.
No, that's all the better.
Okay.
That's all the better.
Yeah.
No, that's better for it to be a delayed bomb reaction.
Wow.
So another thing that's happened recently is the passing of Jimmy Caan. And what drove me nuts about the coverage of that is that everyone showed The Godfather and Elf. And I have to ask you guys, if you were able to memorialize Jimmy Caan, what would you choose to highlight his career?
It would absolutely be the cafe sequence in Thief.
I was thinking,
I am Joe,
you just
boss of my own body.
Yeah, you just stole my. I was going to say Thief. I'm like,
There was a
Thief.
That guy was a fucking asshole. No, there was a lot of love at the beginning. Asshole!
The conversation.
The waitress, come here, take this. Hands him the cream. Why? What's wrong with it? It's fucking cottage cheese.
Is it disappointing when you see an icon like that get like broken down to like just 2 films of his entire career?
No, because we're not breaking him down that way.
Yeah.
I mean, that's somebody else who's not reaching very far.
But I would. Okay, no, but I would. No, if I was unlucky enough
They're going to mention Pulp Fiction when you're dead.
Yeah, but I'm okay with that. They're not mentioning Elf, all right? They're like, they're not like Pulp Fiction and the man who was also in Destiny Turns on the Radio. Succumb to complications.
I kind of hope that that's all it is. That's kind of a cool way to go out.
No, it's like they're gonna say Pulp Fiction. It's a battle to the death to see if they mention one more. To see which one will be the second one. What will be the other one they mention?
The Quentin Tarantino story.
Yeah, they won't mention that one.
Little Q. That's the name of that movie.
Q.
Or maybe it's just Lil Q with
That's my own comic strip. No, that's my comic strip that I'm launching when I'm done with the podcast and done with the books.
And the
my
book.
comic strips that I'm.
I want to talk about Austin Butler for a second, who I thought was his performance in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is masterful.
He's terrific, yeah.
It's incredible, and obviously with Elvis now and what Baz Luhrmann did. I wasn't sure if you guys had a chance to see it, but there's a moment in the movie where Elvis learns about Sharon Tate's death.
Oh wow!
And I remember when I interviewed him for Elvis, I was like, was that weird for you? Like just you're playing a character.
Is it like meta?
It's kind of a weirdly meta thing. So I, since you haven't seen it, I'm just curious what your thoughts would be on that. If you would would want to watch the film and see that scene, would that?
Well, you ruined it for me because I didn't know that scene was in there.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Spoiler alert. I
So Quentin,
apologize.
would you be surprised when you learned that?
If you would have seen that Bruce Willis
when I was watching the movie, I would have been very surprised at that scene.
I am so sorry.
Was he auditioning for Elvis when he was doing
No.
Hollywood?
He was on when he auditioned for me. No, that was way after the fact. When he auditioned for me, he was doing Iceman Cometh on Broadway with Denzel Washington. Yeah.
Oh,
And that's how you get. Yeah.
Quentin, if you can't tell, over these years now, we think you are the greatest interview of all time. If you can't tell, we love this. Which is all the more impressive whenever I see how you handle an interview go poorly. And there aren't that many, but my mind goes to the BBC one.
Yeah, of course.
And there was a woman you did an interview with.
That long time ago.
That Northern California.
Yeah. I actually kind of have a soft spot in my heart for her now.
Yeah, I'm sure.
That was a TV interview.
Was she the one in that beret? That crazy
that was her thing. She gave
raspberry beret?
She gave hats, all right, to movies. This movie gets 3 hats. This movie gets 1 hat. This movie gets a tiny chapeau.
I'm super curious.
You had a beret, a raspberry beret, I think was.
I'm curious as to like how long it takes you, because you do interviews all the time, how long it takes you to realize, oh, they're coming after me for, like, they have an agenda, and then knowing that there is a camera in your face, how you keep your shit together and handle it so that, like, it doesn't turn into a bigger thing than it deserves to be.
Well, I haven't been always successful at that, as you poined out in those 2 cases. All right, but
I actually feel like you, to be honest, I feel like you handled the BBC one very well.
Oh, thank you. Normally it's just normally it's better to use some verbal form of martial arts. All right, where it's like, okay, if you see their agenda, that means you see the blows in slow motion that they're throwing at you, and better to parry.
Yes.
Better to parry and block without actually ever landing a blow. And you're
going to be better at it than they are.
An aggressive blow yourself.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
When their agenda, where they're heading becomes so apparent, that is, that's easy to kind of shut them down without actually even calling attention to it. That's the better way to do it.
You just bend like a reed in the wind.
All right, so we were talking about formats of the podcast, and one of the things that we do on the show that we've had some fun with is a game. Can we play a game with you guys?
Yeah, sure.
All right.
I love games.
This is a really
I would like
crazy
to play a game.
Yes. This is called the IMDb game. And at the top of the IMDb page for each person are 4 posters that are supposed to be most representative of their work. And we play where we try to guess what the 4 are.
Okay.
And it is wild how ridiculous the things are that are posted up there.
Yeah, I know. I've thought about that oftentimes.
Have you really?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Okay, so let's start with you. Do you know your 4?
Do I know my 4?
And I want you to play too, Roger. What do you think his 4
Can you
are?
explain it again?
Yes. Okay.
No,
so
at the top of the IMDb page.
have
I
4
only go to
posters.
OMDB,
Which is what? What is that?
the Open Movie Database.
Oh, okay. At the top of everyone's IMDb page, there are 4 posters that are supposed to be a representative of their work.
Oh, yeah.
But they
essentially.
randomly. I mean, it's weird. Like
Sure.
it'll be like Brad Pitt. It would be like some random little movie he made like in 1980 where he was like a walk-on role, and it would that would be like the one of his four most. It makes no sense.
Are you sure? Because normally it's not that random.
It
can be a weird one, but it's also strangely weirdly popular for whatever reason.
It's as random as algorithms are.
Like John Turturro, I remember had like one of the Transformers sequels.
Yeah, well, that would make sense.
You think so?
Well, because it's
box office.
The
algorithm is looking at the box office
he's done
and the eyes
in the
that
last
saw
20
it.
years, and it's and also it's like people have seen it.
All right. So
No.
Whereas Box of Moonlight, which I love,
I would expect
Yes.
one of the biggest money makers he ever appeared in that's recent would be one of the four.
Okay. Okay.
Sure. Interesting.
Then I want to get back to what do you think you're for, and what do you think his four are?
Well, I'm assuming.
Is there a
You
random
want
one
me
in
to
there?
start?
No.
Because you're easy. I think I can guess yours.
Well, okay. My
you know what they are?
I'm looking at them right now.
Okay, my feeling is probably okay. The four would more than likely be, but I'm probably wrong about one of them.
Okay.
Would be Pulp Fiction, Inglourious Bastards, Django Unchained, and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. But I'm figuring one of them is gone and Reservoir Dogs is there.
Okay. Interesting. Do you have another four? Do you have a different
For
four?
Quentin?
Yeah.
Well, it's Pulp Fiction,
Okay.
Inglourious Bastards.
Mhm.
I would say Reservoir Dogs,
Okay.
just because I would put it on there. Yeah, and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, because
All right. Roger wins. Roger wins
because,
with three.
really?
Yes. It's Pulp and Reservoir Dogs. It's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and the fourth one is The Hateful Eight.
Oh
Ah.
wow! Oh wow!
All right. We want to do
Hateful
one
Eight
more.
made it.
Want to do one more?
Dude,
Are
I
you
can't
able to
pull up
open
But
it?
that's
Okay.
interesting though, because like Django is still my biggest hit, so you
Right.
would
Yeah.
think that Django
would
would
be
be up there
100%.
just on
Yeah.
the numbers alone.
Based on like the
That's what I
Turturro
would've
thing we were
thought
talking
also.
about.
Yeah.
I'm going to pull up Samuel L. Jackson.
Oh, now this is interesting because
Oh,
like
God.
because you imagine they have
Hitman's
True Romance
bodyguard and
there.
shit like that.
He has that one
I
scene
do.
in True Romance.
Yeah, the man.
Yeah.
With him and Eugene Levy.
This
All right.
is yeah. All right.
I
Is this
have
a good
his
one?
four.
Is this a good one?
This is a good one.
Okay. This is
This is a
probably
good one.
one where there's gonna be like a random one that yeah.
Okay, so I will say Pulp Fiction.
Okay.
I will say Unbreakable.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good guess.
That's a good guess.
I will say Jurassic Park.
Oh, good guess.
I will. But which of I guess the Avengers.
Okay.
All right.
Which
I will
one
say,
though? You have to, and then
Oh,
part of the
I
game
think the
is
first one. I think the
one?
first
All
one.
right, those are your four.
Yeah.
All right, you got one correct.
Oh, really? Okay.
Wow.
Would you like to try?
Wow.
This is why we play the game
it's a
because like
fun
it makes
game.
no
Yeah.
sense why would Pulp Fiction not
Well-
be on there or something like that.
Well,
you
I'm
know?
going to think that one that is on there is Pulp Fiction. It has to be.
Yeah, well, correct. That is the one that's
that
on
has
there.
to be.
Yes, that's the one that's on
And I'm going to go with Hitman Bodyguard because
one or
Hitman-
two.
One because I didn't see two.
Oh, well, that's
Was
not,
it
that's
two?
not there. That's not there. No, neither of them
Neither
are
of
there.
them. Well,
Yeah, let him do
Let
his
me
four
finish,
and
let
then
me
tell him
finish.
how wrong
I'm sorry,
it is.
let me
David,
finish.
Sean.
Let me
I'm
finish.
sorry,
Okay, I've got
I'm
two
sorry.
I didn't
more.
know how
like
wrong
a Temple
I
of
was,
Doom
so I
fan.
had a confidence.
Quentin was like these four. You're
And you were
wrong.
like, so I thought I was doing good.
And I was going to say Jurassic Park, but it's not Jurassic Park. Or maybe it is. Hold on a second.
No, he only said one. He said only
Yeah,
one.
he's only got.
he
he's
said
got the one.
JP. So.
I got one, and that's Pulp.
It's hard. He has a lot of credits.
Like they might randomly have True Romance.
If I had to do it all over again, I would probably change the Avengers to Captain America.
Winter Soldier.
The Winter Soldier,
Winter
yeah.
Soldier. Like I was trying to remember which one that he was
This is
You want me
so
to just tell you what it
prominent
is?
in.
I'll
Yeah.
just tell you
Yeah.
what it is.
Is it Winter Soldier?
No, it's Pulp Fiction,
Yeah.
The Hateful Eight,
Oh,
Captain Marvel.
So Hateful Eight was on
Captain
there
Marvel,
with
yeah.
Pulp
Well,
Fiction.
that's actually
Wow.
his best. That's probably his best performance playing as a Sergeant because he has so much to do. He's
Yeah.
the co-lead.
In the MCU?
Of his appearances as
That's true,
Sergeant
yeah.
Fury, I think that's his best performance because
that's true.
they give him more to do.
Yep.
Yeah.
And his fourth credit that Sam Jackson is best known for is Snakes on a Plane.
Ah, that's
Wait.
if it was a snake, it would have bit me.
all right. This could
There
be
was a time that Amos and Andrew was on there, I'm sure, but that time has passed.
So you have no control over it. You have any idea whether you control what goes on there? Because we've always wondered if like publicists.
No, you can't say, oh, you got to put. No.
Oh, interesting.
One, that would be
Actually, you can.
That's too short
Actually,
of
you can.
life.
I
have to worry
for
about what your 4 films on IMDb.
You actually can. You actually can.
You can.
When you pay for IMDb Pro,
Okay.
you can put up your own photo and list your credits, your preferred credits order. I think.
Okay.
I'm not a.
But what's the fun in that? I actually like them.
Yeah,
I like the fact that Hateful Eight is
narcissism.
Me
Narcissism
and
is the
Sam.
fun of
If we
it.
gotta do one more,
Yeah,
can we
sure.
do John
The
Travolta?
last one.
Oh, yeah.
John Travolta.
I will say.
Michael.
Okay. That's going to be one of
You're
them.
both
Okay.
playing.
I,
You're both playing. I'm not going to reveal anything.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I will say Pulp Fiction.
Mm-hmm.
I will say Get Shorty.
Mm-hmm.
I will
That's
say
a good choice.
Michael.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say Phenomena.
Okay.
I remember that Michael phenomenon time period.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wasn't that like just crazy? Like I'll throw a Broken Arrow into that. Why
Oh,
not?
John
Just because it's
Woo.
the same. Yeah, and because of
This is all
John.
post.
Okay, but which
This
one
is
would
like
you take
well-
off to put Broken Arrow?
Well, I'm not going to take off Pulp Fiction. Obviously.
Is this list? Is this
Oh,
list
wait, we
interesting?
haven't even said the early ones.
this is
We
great.
haven't even said like Saturday Night Fever or
Oh my
Grease.
God! Yeah.
Okay,
Oh,
okay.
so
Do you want
Grease.
to change? Well, wait. Do you want to change?
Yeah,
Yeah,
you should
okay.
probably change.
Okay,
okay.
Because I've got to put Grease on this.
Okay, yeah.
On yet, so it's
I
still
haven't
officially
gone
your
yet.
turn.
Okay.
Am I allowed to pick ones that he's picked?
Yes,
sure.
of course.
Okay, so I
So
can't.
the way we played is we all do it and we all give our 4,
Yeah.
and
And then you
you
lock
get
it
a
on who
point
gets
if
the
you are
most.
the
Yes.
one who gets
Got
the
it.
most.
Okay,
yeah.
so I will. Okay, so I will. So what did I have?
You have-
You had Michael
I'll take
and
Michael
Phenomenon.
off, and I'll put Grease on. But I'm keeping Phenomena.
Okay.
But no
okay.
Saturday Night
Good
Fever.
call. So
No, I think I'm gonna go. I think I'm gonna keep him.
Okay, I'm going to go with Saturday Night Fever
ahead.
because, like, I remember when he was making that movie, and they
Yeah.
would show him like walking down the
Yeah.
streets in New York, and
Don't forget Devil's Reign.
oh, that's right.
Mhm.
That's going to be on our
Yeah.
podcast. That has to be on
Yeah.
our podcast.
Okay.
Do you have the VHS of that?
Yes, of course we do.
Oh, hell yes.
Of course. And
Hell
Devil's
yes.
Reign was my inspiration for even being involved with Silent Hill. So that was like,
Yeah.
I just wanted to make Devil's
Okay, pick
Reign.
your 4, goddammit.
Okay. Pulp Fiction, Grease.
Okay.
Saturday Night Fever.
Okay.
Broken Arrow.
Yeah, I'm going to say Broken Arrow just because
Stay with it, Roger.
Yeah.
Stay with
Stay
that.
with it.
You both tied with 3.
Wow.
It is Pulp Fiction, Get Shorty, Grease, and Saturday Night Fever.
Get Shorty was that was the
That's a
that
pretty
was
good
the,
4.
That is
Yeah.
a pretty
That's a
good
pretty
4.
great
That's
four.
a
Yeah,
representation.
that's a pretty great 4.
That's
Yeah.
a good
I have
representation.
I have a question.
Yes.
So
Yes.
if you were to go to Uma Thurman's IMDb,
Yeah.
they could either have Volume 1 or Volume 2.
And they would. I bet you.
No, they would. They would.
But I
But
wonder
which?
which
But
one.
which?
It's probably both.
I think they'll have both.
Yeah.
All right, you guys vamp while I look up Uma Thurman because I closed the window.
All right,
And we're running out of time. I think.
I know they're. I think
Yes.
they're wrapping us up.
Yes.
But
They're throwing you bums out.
yeah. I guess while he's looking that up, I do want to mention it's 25th anniversary of Jackie Brown.
Oh, thank you.
One of my favorite scenes and shots you've ever done is the oneer from when Sam Jackson goes around and kills Beaumont.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And I always love just staying on that shot, starting on the ground, going around, and then like the open the trunk, the music, the sound design. I just love that scene. What that movie means to you now, all these years later, and what that scene meant to you.
Oh well, that movie has always meant a lot to me, and the fact that it's like it's the movie that I've done that like that it had its fans when it came out. All right, but it was like as opposed to Pulp Fiction, wasn't trying to blow your mind. And there were some people that like they wanted to have their minds blown with the next movie, and so the fact that but it's like it's this one that I always figured people would find it as they went back to it, and then it would become like a comfortable friend, which I think most hangout movies, are like.
It's my favorite film of yours.
Yeah, I know.
It's also your
really?
only
That's-
185 film.
Yes, my only one. Yeah, it is my only 185 film, and but that shot, I really dug that shot because that was up until that point. I mean, look, my biggest problem when I look at Pulp Fiction is I don't care for the direction of it that much. I think it's more like I'm capturing. I wrote a really cool script and I have like cool production design and I have cool things in the frame. I have cool actors, but I'm just kind of capturing it. Now I have the balls to capture it and hold on things longer than other people would because they wouldn't have the confidence in my material that I have in my material.
Oh, interesting.
All right. But starting with Jackie Brown is where I started becoming more of a filmmaker. So, and that's like really the first of my worked out cinematic shots,
It's my
where it's
favorite
not
shot
just
of
like a
yours.
Steadicam guy following some guy around. All right, no, this is a sculpted cinematic shot that was in my brain, and we figured out how to do it, and we did it. And then the rest of my movies are filled with them, but that's really like the first one. Wow. That's not just a Steadicam guy following some guy for a long period of time.
I remember seeing that in it was 97, I think it was, and with my dad. It was at Christmas time, I think it came out. I remember there was a Christmas time film, I think it was.
Yeah, it was
And I
Christmas.
remember seeing that shot and going, holy shit, that was really cool. The way the music would shut off and then come back with the door opening.
I was really happy
It
with
was
that.
so
I just think
cool.
there's this amazing balance in the movie between the stylistic flourishes and just the I don't want to call it sentimentalism, but that's not a bad word to me. The nostalgia and the love of your characters.
Well, I mean, it's funny. 'cause
There's a
like,
great balance just between the two. It's not, they're not overwhelmed by the cinema.
Later in Jackie Brown, there's that whole set piece where like you see the money exchange three different times, from three different perspectives. Now, that's not in the book. I mean, the money exchanges happen, but it's not done that way.
Right.
But now I don't think that sequence is like some tour de force sequence. I think I pull it off, but I don't think it's like some wizardly sequence. Yeah. I think it's functional. But when I read the book and I thought about doing it as a movie, I immediately thought of doing it that way. I immediately thought of no, let's just see the whole thing from Melanie's perspective, and then let's see the whole thing from Max's perspective, and let's see the whole thing from Pam's perspective, and then have them overlap. Yeah. All right, when you see the version again, and it was just this. It just popped into my head reading the book that would be how to do it cinematically.
That's amazing.
Really quick while we're on Elmore Leonard, I live in Chicago, and we were all very excited for a hot second because there was this rumor that you were coming to town to shoot Justified. Yeah. I'm sort of curious how far you got in that and what happened there.
Oh, and I was going to do the third episode, and I talked with them about it, and I was really interested in doing it. Then I had, I had a minor operation, but it was one of those things where I had a big, it was a painful recovery, even though it was a minor operation, so I had to back out.
Oh, that's a bummer, man. That would have been great to see you and Oliphant. And
I would have loved to have worked with Tim again, and also I love that character Raylan, and so it would have been fun to direct that. Also, that's one of my favorite Elmore Leonard books, City Primeval. Yeah. All right, so and we had talked on the set of Once Upon a Time about what a good idea that would be about doing that as an adaptation and just replacing Raymond Cruz with Raylan Gibbons, And so the fact that they're actually doing it, I was very excited.
Would you argue if I told you that's your best movie, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
No, I think it's my favorite.
Yeah.
I also think it's the best film you've ever made.
Yeah, I think it's like. Cinematically, I'm always going to choose the Kill Bill movies as my favorite for the simple fact that like nobody else could have made Kill Bill other than me with just the throwing everything into it and all that, and then me throwing my hat in the action game and all the different genres I'm dealing with. The whole thing that was just completely out of my id. And put it on there. But I think, I do think that Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is my best film.
Yeah. It became...
Using that whole film movie thing that we were doing about Jaws.
Jaws. Do you want to play Uma really fast? Do you want to guess Uma's 4? Do you want to guess them?
Okay,
I would tell you.
I would say both Kill Bill movies are listed. I might be wrong about that. Yeah. I would say Pulp Fiction is listed, so that only leaves one more.
Correct.
I'm going to pick Dangerous Liaison.
Okay. Both Kill Bills are there. Pulp Fiction is there. Batman and Robin. Which personifies the game perfectly.
That does personify the game perfectly.
The Temple of Doom of Batman.
The truth about cats and dogs. All right.
Right, exactly. All right, well, we are out of time.
Where the heart is.
We want to thank you guys so much for joining the show.
This is just unbelievable.
Yeah, we love being able to get together and continue success with everything. And good luck with the podcast.
Thank you.
We can't wait to keep listening, and hopefully we'll get you
But
guys.
let me ask you a question. Did you guys actually listen to it?
We got
Well, you guys didn't talk about that. that? We're gonna like leave before you actually talk about the show.
We wanted to talk about the show. We just didn't know how much you guys wanted to dive into it without giving it a podcast.
We think a lot about what you told us at the end of their second interview. We're like, did we talk too much about his stuff? Like we really worried that we annoy you by talking.
Okay. Well, what? Tell me what you thought about the. What did you listen to all 3 episodes that we sent? Or which one? Which one did you listen?
We got a chance.
Oh, the very first. The Dark Star and Cocaine Cowboy. Oh, so what do you guys think?
What I think is exactly what is personified right here. It's just it's literally like it's giving people the opportunity to sit in a room with you two and just listen to the chemistry between the way you guys go back and forth, and obviously the amount of information that you both know about these films. And it makes me want to immediately go out and find the movies.
Right, I want to watch the films now.
Well, had you seen Dark Star before?
No, I've never seen it.
That's kind of a seminal one for you guys not to have seen.
I've never seen that. So now, so my interpretation of that film is literally the episode. Yeah. So I need to actually go and watch it.
Well, if only I could be you and see it again for the first time.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned like the idea of like you hope that people watch your film maybe twice, and so I'm curious as to like how like a podcast plays different, and you have to expect that a lot of people at home are probably not going to have seen these films. And are you
we know that.
Sure. Are you hoping that there is the like listen to the podcast before you see it?
No.
See it and then listen again.
Then you'll never listen to the podcast. If I'm going to wait for you guys to track down Cocaine Cowboys just completely on your own, on VHS, just so you can follow along with the home game, you'll never listen to the show.
But there should be an element that where you let the people know how to get it, how to get access to it.
Well, actually, my daughter kind of.
You do.
Part
well,
of
yeah, Gala comes in because Gala doesn't have access to it. Right. So Gala comes in and explains, okay, here's how you can try to find these films. You can find it on this, and this I got mine.
It's on YouTube. If you, at least right now, it is.
Yeah.
I think back to being a Chicago guy, how much I love listening to Ebert and Siskel. When they disagreed. Yeah. Those are there are a handful of 1,000 episodes where they get along and like, oh, I agree, 3 stars versus 3.5, whatever. Yeah. But when Siskel loved something and Ebert hated it, or when Ebert hated it, it's
Moonraker.
That's our Moonraker episode.
Really? Which episode number is that?
That's number 2. That's our second episode.
That's my next one.
So I'm just sort of curious as to like how far a friendship takes you until you disagree with a movie. Because Kevin and I have had people come up to us and go, "Are you okay after you guys fought over the new Lion King?" And I'm sort of curious, like, when you hit that moment where you go, oh no, you're totally wrong.
I think there's a time in my and Roger's life where that might have been more the case. I mean, now it's just amusing when we disagree.
Yeah, it's fun. It's actually fun when we disagree.
It's more, Gala is more irritating. All right, in a good way. That's more like, what are you talking about? All right, of course that's not the case. All right, but Roger's such a pushover now. All right, that it's like it's all more just like amusing and whimsical. When we're not on the same page.
After making movies and after going through struggles of making films with too few resources and for me mostly non-studio films, I have a greater appreciation for the process. And even when a movie's not 100% successful, somebody bled into that. And I really respect that. Even when I don't really fully like the movie, or I can generally find something in it where I can understand why they made it, and so there's a lot of appreciation for me. And so even if I don't if I'm not bowled over by something, generally I respect it. Sure. I respect it. And having said that, I used to be really, really snarky, like back in the archives days.
No, in the video archives, he was a very tough customer.
I was super tough on everything.
This is not, that guy's gone. You've never met that guy. Yeah. Right? That guy. That's a piece of shit. Why'd you bother saying that piece of shit?
It emerges every now and then, but I try to show more compassion as an older person.
No, the only people he talks that way about are genuine auteurs now of the last 20 years.
Yeah, and I have no problem mentioning him. Like, I have no problem saying I think Fincher's Mank is horse shit.
Oh, it's terrible.
I think it's an insult. Actually,
I loved Mank.
It's not.
What?
I loved that movie.
I don't at all.
I don't love Citizen Kane, but I loved Mank. I know it sounds weird. I know it's maybe a bit blasphemous, but I just
spoiling my whole experience with you.
I just want the record to state I've said nothing. I have said nothing. I am simply listening. I have said nothing. Just let the record state.
Yeah, like Quentin is clean on this one.
Do you remember a movie?
How different were you in the video archive days?
What?
How different were you in the video archive days?
I think I'm pretty much exactly the same.
By the way, go back and watch like Valentino by Ken Russell.
Okay.
If you want to see.
Well, that's Roger's interesting review on it, was the fact that like to watch Valentino after seeing Mank, Valentino has a special purchase.
Valentino was like hated by everyone when it came out, and even Ken Russell was like, "Oh, I should have made The Rose instead." He was like, "I wish I hadn't have made that movie. That was the movie that like ruined me," and blah blah blah. But when you watch it after Mank, you see, oh, that's what Mank was probably thinking it was going to be.
Right. Interesting. Okay.
And it's like there's scenes in it that feel inspired by Valentino. And I had to watch Valentino to wash my eyes after Mank. It was just
you really did not like that movie.
No, I
know it's shot digitally, but I thought it looked cool.
Let's spend all this trouble to try to get the audio to sound authentic, but let's shoot it on video where we have to smoke up the fucking room because there's no actual depth to video.
Yeah.
Quinn's not saying anything.
Yeah, Quinn's not saying anything. Quentin is so fucking diplomatic and political.
I'm not being diplomatic at all. I just don't want to offer up any opinions about a fellow colleague who I really respect's work.
Quentin was bitten by a bug.
So that was the Roger about every genre movie made in the 80s.
I just gave you an example of who I was in 1987.
All right. Every genre movie not made by Sam Raimi, that was Roger's opinion of them all.
Yeah, that was me. That was a flashback to me back then.
Do you remember a specific conversation in the store about a movie that you guys were talking about? Is there a memory of a specific one that you remember?
Well, like many. I mean,
that
was how we used to argue. We would pop a movie on.
Well, the ones that I remember the most are the ones that Roger eventually came around. Yeah. All right, where
and
it's
I've come
like,
around.
Yeah. Well, you came around to almost all the ones that were meaningful to me.
Yeah,
all right,
and that's what counts.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So at first, when I was able to see the genius in Jim McBride's Breathless on day one. All right. It took Roger 4 years or 3 years to understand the greatness.
It took me 10 years to really appreciate Blade Runner.
Yeah.
I hated Blade Runner on first viewing.
That's happened to me with classics or for a film that I've
seen. It wasn't a classic. Blade Runner was just a movie.
Yeah. Right.
It was a movie in theaters.
That summer in July.
It got lost in the ET.
It was like a big mess of a movie where you've got the main character plunking on a piano key throughout the film.
Well, it was Blade Runner and what? Blade Runner and The Thing open on the same day?
I think they did.
Yeah, I think they did. And
I
was a Thing guy. That was
a famous summer science fiction summer of '82. All right,
E.T.
Tron opened up. Star Trek: The Motion. Star Trek: Wrath of Khan.
Wrath of Khan.
Yeah. So you guys don't think a movie should be allowed to have 5 different cuts before people decide which one they want?
I think a movie can have an personal. And I used to not think this. I mean, there is a kind of, we have a thing where, the theatrical release of the movie is the version that counts.
Yeah, exactly.
That's kind of our general belief.
Okay.
Having said that, when I saw what Lucas did by re-editing and re-envisioning and remaking THX, which a lot of people were like shitting all over, this kind of, how dare you re-envision your own work? But he was doing things like that he couldn't do back then. He couldn't afford to do. And maybe even couldn't do, like he added that auto suck machine, like sucking on Robert Duvall, like while he's watching the porn. I never understood that that's what was happening. I saw these kind of holographic women dancing naked, and he's kind of sitting there looking kind of weird. I never knew that he was jacking off. Well, Lucas has the balls to add an auto suck machine, like in the foreground.
That sounds pretty good. I never wanted to see. I don't like THX, so I don't want to see it again. More stuff. I don't need more stuff. That actually sounds pretty good.
He did things like in the factory when they're making stuff. Before it was some kind of oblique, abstract idea of putting cylinders into tubes or something. You don't know what they're doing, and there's a nuclear accident of some kind. Okay, in the re-envision version, he's made it, they're building the robots that enslave them. They're building the police in there. That's actually what they're doing. He adds layers upon layers of background people into the widescreen and enlarges the movie. I think it's with the one misstep of the kind of monkey creatures that are in it in the parking garage area. I think the movie is vastly better. In its
that actually sounds better.
Yeah, that's
in its re-envisioned form.
Okay, that actually sounds.
I
better.
think he used all the tools and all the power at his fingertips to transform the movie into what he would have done back in the day if he had had the tools.
Interesting.
And I think it's really a brave and wonderful thing that he did.
The irony being that he's kind of famous for screwing movies up by going back in and taking
Han Solo can't shoot first. When he shoots the guy under the table. That's
Okay, so the only problem I have with that is that they remove the prior versions of the movie. They remove in E.T. the fact that the Secret Service guys have guns. Now they're all carrying walkie-talkies. Okay, so you should at least allow those versions. Like Lucas, the one misstep he could do is to not allow his original version, his theatrical version of THX to exist and to be out there for people to look at. Like, we should be able to see the evolution of what he did. Sure. And you should still be able to see the ET that has, I get it. Spielberg grew up and he's like, this is a kid's movie. Let's take the guns out of it. Yeah. I understand that. That's reasonable. But he should allow the other version to exist.
Yes. Was My Best Friend's Birthday shot at Video Archives?
Partly.
One scene, the Alan Garfield scene is,
I remember seeing that movie on YouTube, I think, because I think half of the film doesn't exist anymore or something like that.
Yeah, the Alan Garfield scene is shot at Video Archives.
Okay.
That's him behind the counter of the store.
That's cool. I just wanted to bring
and
that
up.
Bump my butt.
Yeah, and then there's
my butt.
Yeah, there's the big, there's that little counter runaway train standee.
That's right. It was Runaway Train.
Pointing right at the counter.
And that was so exciting for me because, you knew Alan, but I had never met Alan until that day, I think, when he came down to act in that scene. And so here I am, I'm acting in a movie. It's your movie, but I'm acting in the film, and I'm acting with, Alan Garfield.
Right, exactly,
who's, one of my heroes. And on top of that, he's doing all this amazing improv on that day. It was so much fun. That was a great day.
That was my only view into what Video Archives looked like at the time when I saw that, because I didn't.
The black and white reversal view.
Well, if you want another view, just walk upstairs to Quentin's, because you'll see those same shelves and tapes.
A very interesting full circle for us, because right before we came to your house, we were at Kevin Smith's house down the street, and he showed us Clerks 3, and we talked at length about how that Quick Stop is such an important place for him.
Yeah, right on.
And that he was able to go back and shoot at it, essentially. And it's almost like you guys were capturing a spot that was
your Quick Stop.
Seminal.
It's super nostalgic for us.
Yeah, at this point. So,
and it's fun.
Okay, guys, is that it?
Yeah, that's it. Quentin, thank you.
We love you,
thank you,
man.
Roger.
Thanks
we really
a lot,
appreciate
man.
you guys
Thanks,
coming
guys.
by and having us.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you guys so much for listening to the latest bonus episode of ReelBlend. Make sure, if this is your first time listening to us with Quentin, we have 3 other episodes, one live from the New Beverly Theater that you guys should go listen to, in addition to all of our great podcast episodes and all the great interviews that we've done over the years. Make sure you check out Quentin and Roger's new podcast, The Video Archives, and we'll see you back here for brand new episodes of ReelBlend, wherever you get your podcast needs met.